Hello, this is Brian, and it's a video tutorial for Noel Christmas Eve. You need to know we're going to be doing this piece a couple of times. If you're familiar with the John Denver Christmas album, Christmas with the Muppets, John Denver narrated a poem called Alfie and the Christmas Tree. We will sing this underneath it, just on Lou, and then when the narration is over, we will come back and sing it as written. Now, it's written a cappella. We will have the piano playing throughout. I will zoom in on occasion to help you see things. One of the first things you should note is that I have written in measure numbers here at the top of every bar. That saves us a lot of time rather than just depending on these or the little notations that are at the beginning of each system. Another thing that is really good to do is circle your dynamics. I have a color coding system that you don't need to do, but that's a good idea. Also, I've written in some crescendos, little bitty crescendos, and marked this little dotted slur with NB means no breath. Don't take a breath there. So we'll just go on through it. So nothing in particular in the first system. Throughout the piece, you'll see it says here, alto, tenor, bass, breathe after the soprano pickup. So we have to keep singing and support the sopranos as they begin the melody. Okay, so I'll give you the cutoff. So you'll just have to watch the conductor. Or Travis, if Travis conducting. In all the cases where we've got this no breath, you can see I've marked in a little poco crescendo. Also, whenever you have an R at the end of the word, just cross it out because we don't grind those R's. When the stars were shining, the listener's ear will provide that. I also think it's a good idea for you to circle your breath marks as I have here and here. Down in the bottom system, again, altos, tenors, and basses breathe after the soprano pickup, and no breath over here, and that little poco crescendo in the soprano. Okay, scooting on over to the next page. Sopranos, up here you'll see I've asked for you not to stagger your breathing because you've got a long phrase. Here in measure 14, no breath and crescendo. And I think I bumped this or moved this somehow. Oh, there we go. Down here in measure 16, again, no breath, crescendo, alto, tenor, and bass, breathe after the last soprano 8th note. Here in measure 18, I want the sopranos to breathe with the punctuation, reached me, peals of bells. So you'll breathe right there, sopranos. Nobody else will. And on the next page right here for ringing, I've written in flip the R. So ringing. If you can trill it, ringing, that's nice, but it can't be ringing. Okay. And then just a little note here that you need to make sure, this is again, I'm talking to the sopranos, that you hold this out for the full measure. So I wrote this little thing in here. I'm going to want the sopranos or the altos to cut off a little early here. So you're not going to sing the full dotted quarter. We'll cross out the dot, put an eighth rest, so that in other words, you're going to breathe when the tenors and basses do before they come in on the next bar. So they'll come in with no vocal support above them. All right. Down here at the bottom, tenors and basses, notice I want you to take a breath here after olden times. So you'll just shorten this dot, this tied note a little bit. And I've circled the breath marks that are all there. Sopranos and altos breathe after the last tenor bass note, so you're supporting them. And, you know, again, crossing out the R's in shepherds and were. Up here on the next page, let me adjust this, make it a little bigger. Tenors, no breath, and a little crescendo. We're getting rid of the R in heard. This is just a little reminder to me that the tenors have to move, so that's what that's about. Notice now we're mezzo forte. It's the first time we've really, well, no, the tenors and basses were mezzo forte over here too. But again, good idea to circle those dynamics. Tenors and basses are unison here. And get rid of the R in marveled. Little crescendo here. Poco means little. And no breath. And get rid of the R in whether and were. Oh, I didn't cross it out in the ladies' parts. Let me do that right now. Breath here as marked. Just a little reminder, tenors and basses, that you're still mezzo forte here in measure 38. This is the third system of page 5. And here at the end, sopranos and altos and tenors breathe before the bar line, so that we're all on time as we come in at the bottom. Now the word crescendo, or the abbreviation for crescendo, is written in here. I write in a crescendo because these just get ignored. So please write in a crescendo and circle your breath mark here. And notice the retard. I like to put in these little wiggly lines to remind myself that I'm going to slow down here. Altos, you have to be ready to take off on the top of page 6. So now we're on page 6. Altos have the melody, get rid of the R in stars. We've got a division here. This will be soprano, soprano, alto, and fermata. And then these railroad tracks, or caesura. So this is a full stop. So be sure you are watching. Everybody goes on mezzo forte, get rid of the R in heard. Everybody poco crescendo and no breath here in the second system, measure 47. Flip the R in stari, almost like a D. And tenors and alto tenor bass breathe after the soprano pickup. So we're supporting to the end of the bar. Nothing really new here, except I'd like the altos and the tenors and basses not to breathe here in measure 51. That's the third system of page 6. So no breath here. Now, here's a little trick. By the way, this strange writing here is the International Phonetic Alphabet. But when we have the word our, we're going to pronounce it instead of comfort. Oh, by the way, no R in comfort. Comfort of our Lord. I like comfort of our Lord. Awa, awa, awa. On 2/16. And down at the bottom of the page, you're still mezzo forte here, alto, tenor, bass, breathe after the last soprano note. And no breath. And a little crescendo here for the soprano singing the melody. Okay, top of page 7. We're bringing the dynamic down quite a bit. Sopranos, you're now mezzo piano, and I have written in piano for the tenors, altos, tenors, and basses. And again, alto, tenor, bass, breathe after the second soprano note. Sopranos, a little crescendo and no breath here, as we've done before. Right here at the end of the second system, page 7. A little bit of a retard here, and this is only the altos and tenors, and as marked piano. Down in the third system, tenors and basses, you're in unison on these notes. By the way, do you see this little marking here right before? I'm going to zoom in on that. This is my little marking for what's called a glottal stop. So in other words, we're not going to say as I listened. As I listened, we're going to say as I stood, as I stood. We don't like to do a lot of glottal stops. It's a little hard on the voice, but there are times when we need to for clarity. Okay. So continuing on, there's a bit of a retard here, and no breath at the bottom of the page, and then decrescendo. Clear down to pianissimo, 3 Ps, very quiet, and a fermata. Thank you.